there is one stock that is about to skyrocket. The company is Reddit, ticker symbol RDDT. So there's a lot of talk about ChatGPT just taking all of the searches, and Reddit actually made a licensing deal. It was one of the first big companies, I think the New York Times did as well, to make a licensing deal with ChatGPT, some of these LLMs, so they could display directly their writing. I don't know how much Redditors call what they do writing, but the point is, when you want to find something and you don't want to be BS'd, you type in and then you type what you want and you type Reddit at the end of that query. So that's pretty valuable, even though it wasn't looked at as kind of a jokey site for a while. What's happening is they're sort of Craigslist-ifying towards, like a meta, which is crazy to say, but they're putting ads in more of their parts of their site. And revenue is up 60% year over year, 500 million in revenue, and that could definitely increase as those ads get better. I personally know from trying to run ads other places, I think Reddits are not looked upon favorably. It's just the users don't like them yet. Not that users ever like ads, but you know what I mean. When you're scrolling through Instagram and you see something that is very eye-catching and maybe perfectly what you happen to be looking at, like it or not, it kind of fits, right? So we'll see if Reddit can adopt some of that Zuckerberg charm. And if Reddit isn't your cup of tea, there is another company as well that is setting up. It's SanDisk. And the recent revenue wasn't great for this memory company. You're probably familiar with SanDisk from, Western Digital, Seagate, Micron, Best Buy fame, when you need a USB drive or something like that. Micron, notably getting out of consumer. Consumer is their least, I think, profitable segment. Don't quote me on that, but they're getting out of it. SanDisk didn't have the most profitable quarter, but despite that, the stock still has been up a lot, and that's because there's a huge demand from data centers. So just like the rest of the economy, if you took out the AI stocks from the S&P, well, you would be taking out about 40% of the market value of the S&P. So that's crazy. If you did take those out and you look at an equal weighted S&P or just the performance of the rest of the market, you would see we pretty much have gone sideways. So maybe a little bit down in some places. Kraft Heinz saying that recently they're basically seeing a drop off. So people aren't buying as much ketchup, or like mac and cheese, which is not a good sign. It's kind of, R word worthy or adjacent. So you know what? If it's not an AI, it doesn't really matter right now as far as your money is concerned. And SanDisk, despite this quarter not being great, is still holding up. So let's jump into these charts. Let's talk about where to get in. You don't have to fall in love with these companies, but a month could be a good hold. Not financial advice.
This is Sam Putnam.
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 All right, so here is a little bit about SanDisk. Also, look into this Reddit revenue, but they're having demand in cloud storage and data centers, really. So this demand is actually not great in enterprise. What is happening, I think, is consumer edge memory, all of that is sort of sidelined as well. The only big thing I think is data center storage and maybe edge computing, which is what ChatGPT is trying to tell me. It's hard to exactly tell, but these data centers need massive memory. And it's the same memory that you do plug into your computer with. It's the same providers, and you can see quarter by quarter. This is the quarter, 1.7 billion. They had this goodwill impairment charge, which it's hard to say, exactly how important that is, except to say that almost 2 billion is definitely crazy. What was the goodwill impairment to SanDisk? Should be able to answer that, right? I mean, goodwill, that's like if Heinz came out with ketchup that, hurt someone, that could be a goodwill impairment. Quarter 4 of this is quarter 2. It looked like the revenue was higher, and then, you know what? This is so confusing. Quarter 1, the revenue was even higher. So if this is true, which if this is true, ChatGPT is very good. It is pulling from the correct sources. It's just a little confusing because this is obviously not quarter 4 2025 in June. But this ordering is basically a decrease in revenue over the last few quarters. And we've seen an absolute monstrosity of a move. I mean, August to November, it went 500%. So it definitely draws parallels to Quantum, which has no revenue. So, I know we're supposed to be fundamental, obsessives, but it doesn't matter because how are you supposed to buy a company that has no money, right? It doesn't make any sense except people think quantum computing could change the world. So here's the deal with SanDisk. It's definitely had some hits with the broader market, but this is the biggest down day since October 10th for the SPY. So we can just pretty much ignore this. Just correct this. Just remove that. So, a gap down, whatever. And then notably, it's holding up on this 190 level. So this is where to look. Pretty much back since earnings. But notably, the market sold off. So pretty much just going to call this earnings a wash. Just ignore the earnings reactions for this particular stock and just look at how it actually trades, which I know might drive some people crazy, but you have a really favorable level at, just call it 200. That's the closest spot to look at for a psychological level. And what you're really seeing is a possible change of character where you have a line here and then it's breaking above that. So look at Wolf. This is a similar one that, it wasn't a long-term line, but it's hard to even see, but this move is significant. It tested it here and then it formed a higher low and then it broke through. So it's only about 3 weeks that it drops down, but you didn't know that it was going to go up there. It definitely had at least here, it looked like on this failure, it might just continue down. So this is a lot too. This is 20%. So it's definitely no joke. So that's basically the opportunity in SanDisk, technically. And then if you look at, someone's asking about the meme ETF. The meme ETF has no volume, first of all. Trades like, what is this, 100,000 times at most, less than $1 million a day. So I'm not touching this. That's just going to lead to, whatever. I mean, you need stuff that moves. If you want to buy something that moves, IONZ, how about that? Basically, some type of quantum adjacent company. I'm sorry, I'm being a little facetious here. You really can't buy stocks that are very illiquid, in my opinion, because they're not good companies. You can if you're like Sequoia, or if you're some type of savant, but it's just too difficult. But if you have another question, I'm happy to be less sarcastic. Seriously. SanDisk, is hard to value right now, but the data center connection is the big one. And then as far as Reddit, the number of uniques is a big deal, obviously, for a consumer company. 100 million uniques is up 20% year over year, and they raised their guidance. So as long as that ad demand stays good, what does happen is there can be less spending if we go into a recession on ads. Now, I don't know if that's going to translate to Reddit, because that's generally brand ads, and I don't know what brand wants to be, placed next to the, homemaking subreddit or the, Fortnite skins subreddit or whatever, right? I mean, Fortnite, I guess, would want to advertise there, but you get what I'm saying. It's sort of an unanswered question. So this is not some type of 5-year plan that I think Reddit exemplifies. What's happening here is there's a flag, there's growing interest, the earnings reaction has been so-so, and you can buy over this 223 level. In fact, it seems to be going up right now, which is pretty interesting. So I'm not going to say to buy it, but you know what? Might be a good time to buy it. So that's Reddit. And then as far as long term, let's say it goes to like 240 and then rejects. That could be a potential. I'm not saying to sell that soon, but that's a 10% move. It could have a little bit of pullback. It could be a good spot to sell half. And selling half is nice, right? Because look at this past move, okay? Let's say you bought, I don't know. Let's say you were crazy fortuitous and you bought here, you sold with 10%, and then you were just bummed out because you were like, well, yeah, I made 10%, but, now what? Let's say you have $100,000, make it super simple. You took a 5% position. You're super careful. So you put $5,000 into Reddit. You made 10%. You made $500. You're like, oh, well, that's not nothing. And then you still have $5,000 just sitting in this, going sideways for 2 months. So it's not exactly an airplane taking off here. But because you already made that $500, you can just sit that $5,000 in there. And what happens is you're able to sit through a move like earnings, which could have been bad, but you're able to, I don't want to use the word gamble, but you're definitely able to, be more patient that you might not be if you hadn't taken that 50% gain. So you then get another 70 to 80%, which is a pretty incredible. So now you've gotten a total of, we don't want to be totally crazy, but even if you just sold up here and you got spooked up here for whatever reason, if you get 100% on a $5,000 position, sure, you made $500 and then you made another $5,000. So now you're up from that one position, you're up a little more than 5%, right? You're up 5.5% on that position alone. And you probably took a handful of positions. So that's how you can, this is a long time. This is June, July. This is 2 months, 2 full months, 2.5 really, to make 5%. But you say you have 10 positions at a time. That's how over the course of a couple months, you could be up, 10, 15% in a few months, which a lot of people would say, what the point is that? What's the point of that? It's like, well, 5% a month, 4% a month is crazy. Like if you can maintain that, which you need extreme discipline, is absolutely crazy. So 4% growth a month for a year. It'd be easy to just say it's 50% or something. But I think it's a little more than 50%, right? Because of the whole C word thing. So 60%, which is a massive gain over the course of the year, definitely beating the market. So anyway, that's the opportunity here in Reddit as well as SanDisk. So if you like these ideas, hit that like button. It helps the YouTube algorithm, which is just people, see that they might be okay. If you want a free course on how to find the next NVIDIA without gambling on startups, I could call it, without working at Sequoia or, working in Silicon Valley, being a venture capitalist. Head over to that subscribe button. Sorry, computer crashing today. I'm all over the place. And you'll get that once a month in the YouTube posts section. I'll post it there. And if you want to head over to the Discord, where I'm headed right now, go to stockscommunity.com. We'll see you in the next one.
This is Sam Putnam. This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.
This is Sam Putnam.